Well, Mike, let's start things off by talking about Notre Dame's class of 2026. Let's focus on the wide receiver position and tell us about a key wide receiver who's going to be visiting soon.
Yeah, posted an article late Sunday night. Just had gotten back from vacation, and I was like, "Hey, you know what? Let's drop a little scoop." So, posted this article. Notre Dame hosting a massive 2026 target for summer official visit, and that player is Connor Salmon from the state of Virginia, taking an official, or expected to at least, the weekend of June 13th. So it's a ways away, but Darren, we're in this. Um, you know, February recruiting dead period where there's a whole lot of nothing going on in the world of college football. So, usually I feel like this time of year we're talking about March, April visits, but I think there's maybe some schools were like, hey, let's go ahead and start getting these kids on the books for June, and then once that happens, and then everyone's doing it. So everyone's scheduling these tentative June visits that can easily move in a heartbeat. But anyways, with Connor Salmon, a speedster from Virginia, someone who Notre Dame's been on for several months now, and he doesn't have a top three necessarily, but it does seem like, and he's admitted as much to On Three, that Penn State, Clemson, and Notre Dame has emerged as the biggest schools to watch. And he took visits to Notre Dame and Penn State in the winter before that dead period started. And when we come out of the dead period in March, he's going to take a visit to Clemson, and then he scheduled his officials with those three schools. So definitely follow the visits with him. And, Notre Dame's got a pretty good shot to land him. I think Penn State is, if you talk to national insiders, they probably think that Penn State's the team to beat. But, I actually predicted him back in August to land at Notre Dame, kind of one of those early projection picks that we've talked about over the years, Darren.
Right.
And, I don't know how confident I feel in that because, I'm definitely concerned about his relationships at Penn State. Talking about from a Notre Dame perspective, but Mike Brown, a Virginia native, is really clicked with Connor Salmon, and I think he really likes what Notre Dame has to offer. So I would say pretty nice development, expected one for him to officially visit Notre Dame, but we'll see those three schools and we'll go from there. And but yeah, Notre Dame expected to get Connor Salmon in June, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Mike, this is a big cycle for Notre Dame when it comes to wide receivers. Where do we stand right now?
Yeah, it's always a big cycle. Like I remember around this time every year, at every school I've ever covered, to be like, all right, let's take a look at the biggest needs in the class. Like what are it's kind of turned into this. Well, every position's a crucial need, but specifically for Notre Dame, every single year we're going to talk about receivers until like we see a transformation that we saw in the defensive backfield. Like when I started on the Notre Dame beat in the spring of 19, we talked all the time about, Notre Dame needs to turn the corner at corner and safety. And, you get Kyle Hamilton, and then, Xavier Watts, your safety position is locked in. But like, corner was weak for a while. And now it's turned in such a strength in South Bend. When are we going to see that transformation at the receiver position? They have one player committed, and Dylan Faison, the younger brother of Jordan Faison, who you talk to Notre Dame sources and people are really raving about him. But they're going to take two or three more. I would expect a four-man receiver class. That would at least be the hope. And Salmon, who we just talked about, is definitely a key target for the Irish. Braden Robinson, who's more of a slot guy. I mean, he's not going to be playing boundary receiver at 5'8", but he's a speedster from Red Oak, Texas. Notre Dame believes that they have the lead for him. Notre Dame also feels like they're out in front for Kadon Finley, son of former Packers tight end Jermichael Finley. I've recently logged a prediction for him to land with the Fighting Irish. When it's all said and done, Robinson's locked in to officially visit Notre Dame in June. I'm sure Finley is too. We haven't been able to confirm it yet, but expect Finley to take an OV to South Bend this summer. And yeah, Notre Dame's also been extending some new offers and some guys I could definitely see getting to campus this summer, as well as Zion Robinson from Mansfield, Texas, and Mason James from Norman, Oklahoma. That's not easy to go to Norman, Oklahoma to land a prospect. But I mean, we just talked about three kids from Texas and one from Oklahoma. This is not the entire board. There's other guys. We're not going to talk about them for the sake of time, but some of the kind of the key names that seem to be discussed with Notre Dame sources. So again, definitely some other players at the receiver position, but Notre Dame is like they should be. They're swinging for the fences. Now, going into Texas and landing some pass catchers is not the easiest thing to do. If you're going into Texas to recruit a highly touted prospect, the competition's going to be fierce with the SEC schools and, of course, the in-state schools. So we'll see how it goes. But right now, I think, you have Faison committed. Go get Braden Robinson and Caden Finley, and then maybe like a Connor Salmon. I think you'd be fired up if that's a 4-man receiver class. Now, in years past, Notre Dame hasn't landed all their top receiver targets. That's why I just talked about, when are we going to see that corner be turned, excuse me. So we'll see what happens in the 26th cycle, Darren, but Notre Dame's definitely put in the work so far. I mean, they've put themselves in a good position, I feel like.
Mike, just a general question in regard to wide receiver recruiting. Do wide receiver recruits see Notre Dame as a program that prefers to run the football first and foremost? Is there a theme that possibly hurts Notre Dame when it comes to wide receiver recruiting?
I'll say this. When I talk to recruits, the receivers specifically about like, hey, like what is Notre Dame telling you about your fit in their offense? What I hear a lot is, hey, they're really trying to turn the corner. Maybe not turn the corner. That I just said that phrase a few times, so it's not top of my head. But something along those lines, like under Mike Denbrock, they're really looking to sling the ball around a little bit more. Like so there is a sense from the receivers that Notre Dame traditionally has been a ground and pound. Like that's been more of their success offensively. You look at some of the great running backs and offensive lines that Notre Dame's had, and if I'm Connor Salmon, think about Notre Dame, what receiver is coming to mind? Like, yeah, a lot of Notre Dame fans are going like, oh man, yeah, Will Fuller, some of these guys. It's like, yeah, these kids, 10 years ago, I mean,
Yeah.
very young. So it's more, what have you done for me lately in the past few years? And, Notre Dame doesn't have a ton to speak for with the receiver position. So a long way to answer your question, Darren. Yeah, I would definitely say there's some of that, but, Notre Dame is working their angles to make it an attractive place for pass catchers, and there's definitely a hey, you can come and play early, and yeah, we have Mike Denbrock here. Look what he's done, yeah, I mean Notre Dame did some really good things in the past game throughout the year, especially when you look at the championship game. If I'm Notre Dame, I'm saying, hey, look at this Texas receiver we just had the national championship game. Come be that.